It's Monday. Hope your week is off to a decent start. From the KUOW newsroom, this is Seattle Now. I'm your host, Patricia Murphy, with a roundup of today's top stories. It's July 13th. The Washington State Attorney General's office began its trial today against grocery giant Albertsons. The state alleges the company fueled the opioid crisis by failing to resolve warning signs of drug misuse or diversion. Dan Albertstone, representing the state, told a King County Superior Court that the company prioritized profit.
On the one hand, Albertsons charges its pharmacists with getting these highly addictive drugs off its shelves and into the hands of consumers to make money. While on the other hand, they charge them to protect against diversion and misuse of these same drugs. Clearly, there's an inherent conflict.
The state claims Albertsons unlawfully filled red-flagged prescriptions for opioids more than 6 million times. For its part, the grocery chain says in the early 2000s, its pharmacies followed the prevailing medical guidance at the time, which was to aggressively use opioids to treat pain. The trial is scheduled to last through September. We've learned a man in his 60s recently caught on video getting attacked by a bison at Yellowstone National Park is from East Whatcom County.
Look out, a bison!
You could hear someone yelling before the aggressive bison charged Carl McDaniel and his grandson. That sound and video that's now gone viral, courtesy of photographer Mike McLeod. McLeod said the bull went after a group of boys about 5 minutes before it turned its sights on McDaniel and flung him approximately 8 feet into the air. The New York Times reports McDaniel suffered several broken bones and is still in the hospital. An update on a couple of fires we're watching here in Washington. The Quincy Lakes fire broke out Saturday night and quickly burned 300 acres near the Gorge Amphitheater, prompting evacuation orders. Those evacuation orders have since been lowered to a level 2 or be ready to leave status. Fire bosses have also lowered the evacuation orders for a new fire that's broken out near Lake Chelan. The transfer fire was first reported Sunday afternoon off Highway 97. It's only burned an estimated 40 acres, but officials initially issued level 3 or go now orders because it was so close to town. Evacuation orders are now at level 2. A new state audit finds Washington's juvenile rehabilitation facilities are understaffed, overcrowded, and unsafe. The report from the legislature's nonpartisan audit committee found conditions inside Green Hill School near Chehalis and Echo Glen in Snoqualmie led to more fights and lockdowns and less access to school and treatment. Green Hill has been over capacity since 2023, and incidents there more than quadrupled between 2022 and 2024. Almost half of newly hired staff quit within their first year. Auditors also found racial disparities in how young people are disciplined. The Department of Children, Youth, and Families acknowledged the report and says it's taken steps to address crowding. A final audit is due in September. The Seattle Indian Health Board is reopening its Thunderbird Treatment Center at a new 92-bed facility on Vashon Island to help more people access addiction treatment. Officials gathered over the weekend for its ribbon cutting. KNKX's Mitch Borden reports.
The new Thunderbird Treatment Center has been years in the making, ever since the Seattle Indian Health Board closed its South Seattle rehab facility in 2020. The nonprofit has invested $36 million into its new location on Vashon Island. Esther Lucero, the CEO of the Seattle Indian Health Board, says the island will be a wonderful place for people to get away and reset.
You need to step away from some of those vices that have fueled your addiction, or maybe those experiences of trauma that have initiated, your movement towards substances.
Lucero says the treatment center will serve both Native American and non-Native patients. The majority of its beds will be available to people who qualify for Medicaid and Medicare. The 92-bed facility is expected to begin welcoming patients later this year. I'm Mitch Borden, reporting.
Washington State Attorney General Nick Brown is leading a new multi-state lawsuit that seeks to block Paramount Skydance's proposed acquisition of Warner Brothers Discovery. Brown and 11 other states' attorneys general are opposing the $110 billion deal and say it would illegally reduce competition in the film and television industries. The lawsuit contends the acquisition would give the combined company roughly a third of the U.S. theatrical film and basic cable markets, leading to higher prices, fewer choices, and job losses. They're also seeking to prevent the companies from closing the deal while the case proceeds and say they'll seek a temporary restraining order if necessary. Planned Parenthood in Washington and Hawaii are now offering abortion pills to people who aren't currently pregnant. Patients can get the pills and keep them in their medicine cabinet. A month into the new program, reporter Eilish O'Neill checked in to see how it's going.
So far, fewer than 100 people have gotten abortion pills from Planned Parenthood in case of a future unwanted pregnancy. Dr. Colleen McNicholas is a medical affairs chief for the organization. She says she expects more people to take them up on this as word spreads.
Uptake is growing. And one of the things that I expect when we launch this was that there would be somewhat of a slow start because people haven't been accustomed to thinking about abortion in a preventative way.
Insurance doesn't cover abortion pills just in case, so patients either need to apply for financial assistance or pay about $150 out of pocket. Eilish O'Neill, KUOW News.
Here's something you may not know. 87% of all fresh U.S. pears come from the Northwest, but many pear farmers here say they're going into deep debt or are getting out of the business. NWPB's senior correspondent Anna King reports.
Near Hood River, Oregon, Leslie Tamura grows pears like her father, grandfather, and great-grandfather, who immigrated from Japan. There's Anju, Bartlett, Bosch. Her orchards are strapped between the Columbia River and Mount Hood. But like a lot of pear growers throughout Oregon and Washington, Tamura is going into debt.
All day, every day, everything that I'm trying to do, I have that feeling that I just cannot get rid of, that I may not be in this much longer.
Tamura says consolidation in supermarkets drive down farmers' prices. Costs of labor, diesel, propane, and fertilizer are also pressing margins. I'm Anna King.
Over the weekend, we learned the Seattle Seahawks, the NFL team purchased for $194 million by Microsoft co-founder Paul Allen back in 1997, may have new owners. To learn more about the eye-popping price they'll pay for that privilege, Seattle Times sports reporter Bob Condotta spoke to KUOW's Kim Malcolm.
Bob, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
It's great to have you. So start us off with the buyers. Who are they?
Well, it's the Koshla family, father Vinod, wife Niru, and son Neil. They have lived in the Bay Area since Vinod and Niru immigrated from India in the late 70s, early 80s. And then Vinod Koshla, through a variety of different things, but venture capital being one of them, became one of the richer men in the United States. He's been involved in a number of different businesses down there. He's very involved in some AI businesses as well. His son Neil also went to Stanford, got an MBA, and also has started off some of his own businesses as well. But they were longtime fans of the 49ers, and that's what sort of got them interested in the NFL.
Yeah, I'll definitely get to the 49ers aspect of this in a moment. But were they on the short list of who was expected to bid?
I mean, not initially. Nobody really knew who they were, I don't think, from a general NFL standpoint heading into it. But they became on the short list very quickly, for sure. It sounds like they were one of the top two from basically for the last few months. I think there were two real bidders, and they were one of them. And I think within the NFL, I think from the start, they for sure were known as one of the groups that was very interested and had the wherewithal as well to pull it off.
Mm-hmm. So my understanding is that they're going to be the controlling owners of the new ownership group. Do we know who else is going to be involved with that?
We do not, although there's hints that it's a number of other people who also sort of are Silicon Valley tech guys kind of thing, but no specific names have been released yet.
Okay. Well, let's talk about the price tag. $9.612 billion. It's hard to even believe like that's a real figure. What should listeners know about the size of that offer?
Yeah, it is a lot. I mean, just 3 years ago, the Washington Commanders sold for $6.05 billion, which seemed crazy. But this is the going rate these days for NFL teams. If you read the Forbes magazine, every year they do sort of an annual valuations list. I think they had the Dallas Cowboys last year as the most valued NFL team at $13 billion, I think. So this was kind of what was expected.
Yeah, remarkable. Well, we know the Khosla families from the Bay Area, and they do have this connection with the San Francisco 49ers. I understand they've been season ticket holders there for a long time and purchased a minority stake a little while ago. I mean, for fans listening to this, I mean, I can only imagine like all the suspicion. What? Someone from our rivals getting involved with the Seahawks? What's going on here?
Well, this is actually becoming a really common thing. This isn't the old days anymore where like George Halas started the Chicago Bears 100 years ago. These are very, very expensive teams. You have to have a lot of money to get into the club. This has happened fairly frequently, actually, lately in sports teams where people buy into one team somewhere to sort of get into the club. They get known. They understand what it's like. And then once they get that taste of it, they go, I want a team of my own. Yes, these guys were fans of the 49ers, but that's nothing to really worry about in terms of buying the Seahawks. What it shows is they like football and they're fans of the NFL and they know a little bit about the NFL and the NFL knows them. That's far more important, that aspect of it.
Mm-hmm. Well, we've got a little less than 5 weeks until the Hawks have their first exhibition game. So tell us a little bit about what happens in the next few weeks. That sale has to be approved, right?
Yes. What happens next? It'll get sent to what's called the NFL Finance Committee, which is a committee of 8 other owners. It's chaired by Clark Hunt, who owns the Kansas City Chiefs. They will look at it and then send it on to the general ownership with a recommendation of either yes or no. Generally, once that happens, it's a complete rubber stamp. The last 2 ownership changes each were unanimous votes that apparently took very little time at all once it got through that stage. But August 26th is the date that owners were told to be prepared to have a meeting to approve the sale of the Seahawks. And one reason why people don't think this will hit much of a bump in the road is that the family was approved for that share of the 49ers just last year. So they've gone through that process already. But the NFL has been involved already. Like I say, the NFL knows who these guys are.
That was Seattle Times reporter Bob Condotta in conversation with Kim Malcolm. Next time on Seattle Now, what do you do when you're face-to-face with a bear? Hear more from wildlife expert Chris Morgan tomorrow morning. Oh, and hey, before we wrap up here, quick question. This week on the show, we're asking our listeners what surprised you about the World Cup in Seattle. Share your answer in the KUOW app. Just open the menu and select Talk to Us. Learn more at KUOW.org/question. That's all for today from the KUOW newsroom in Seattle. Our producer is Vaughn Jones, and I'm Patricia Murphy. Seattle Now and KUOW are members of the NPR network. See you later.